Wren, welcome to Let's Talk.
I am honored to be with you today. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm excited. I'm doing better now that you're here, and we've got you on to talk about this book, Family Business. Tell us a little bit about that and what inspired you to produce this book.
Well, the story begins in 1872 in Thibodaux, Louisiana. My great grandfather, Willis Handy Young, is born there. He's a multi instrumentalist, he's a composer and an arranger and a teacher of music. And he taught all three of his children to play music. He had an edict that if you live in my house, you're going to play music. And my beloved grandfather was his youngest child. Lee Young Sr., my grandfather, was my living hero. This is my mother's father. And he was the first black staff musician in the history of Hollywood. Columbia Pictures, 1946. He was Nat King Cole's drummer and musical director for 25 years. And in 1937, he made his first records in December of that year with Fats Waller. So that's my mother's father. My mother's mother was born in Los Angeles in 1911. She was Ruth E. Gibbons, a torch singer and cotton club dancer. And I loved her, and she informed my life so richly. And then my father's parents. My father's mother was born in 1903 in Mobile, Alabama, but she made her beginning there in Philadelphia at the Standard Theater. Then she went to Harlem, New York in the 20s and was a part of Irving C. Miller's Brown Skin Models, as well as the Cotton Club. My father's father, Troy Brown Sr., was born in 1900 in Memphis, Tennessee. My grandfather was the fifth black actor in Screen Actors Guild. He played the London Palladium in 1933 during the height of the
Wow.
Great Depression. And in 1934, on January 26, he was on the first ever show at the Apollo Theater. And then there's my father, who was born in 1932 in Harlem, New York, who made his debut at the Alhambra Theater with the great Cab Calloway in 1936. So those are my ancestors. And my great grandfather, Willis Handy Young, he was the founder of the New Orleans Strutters, his theatrical troupe in the aughts of the 20th century. And so when I founded the Ebony Repertory Theater in 2008, and I looked back and I recalled my great grandfather founding the New Orleans Strutters, those became bookends for me. And I figured that there might be a story in between. So that's how we got here today.
It's funny, Ren, because I've been telling this story a lot the last couple of weeks as we, begin to celebrate our 60th anniversary. That one of the things my father used to say all the time is, lawyers beget lawyers, doctors beget doctors, dentists and I used to say, what does beget mean? But I realized now what that means, and you're able to tell how you begot, how your family members begot entertainment, music, theater, because it was a generational thing, for lack of a better word, but it passed down through generations. And for you to be able to tell this story, I'm curious about when, did you first think that there's a legacy here? I mean, when did you first acknowledge that?
Well, thank you for the question. I always knew that there was a legacy in general, but the specificity of that, as I said, when I went and really dug into my great grandfather creating the New Orleans Strutters, where he carried 23 to 25 men, women, and children on his show for many, many years. And then the great grandson he would never know founds the Ebony Repertory Theater. Those bookends really, really struck me in a very, very special way. And that legacy is very real to me. It became even more real during that discovery. But I thought it was vitally important also to depict on these pages the notion of tradition, because in this country and around the world, it is often suggested that Black folks fall out of the sky, that we don't have traditions, we don't have
Mm,
legacies. And
mm.
so I felt very, very passionately about the fact that I wanted to not only have their contribution celebrated or not diminished, but I wanted the notion of tradition in Black to be on the pages of the family business.
You are preaching to me this afternoon, Ren. I know it's morning where you are because you're on the West Coast, but
Yes.
yeah, you are preaching today. And so the legacy, I'm sorry, the Ebony Repertory Theater. Tell us a little bit about that, and when you talk about bookends, what have you been doing there, and when did you establish that? What kinds of theater do you produce? Talk a little bit about that.
Well, we are the first and only African American professional theater in Los Angeles' history. Now, when I say professional, I don't mean just the comportment of the ushers or the security guards. I'm meaning that our actors work under an Actors Equity Agreement. Actors Equity was founded in 1913, and it is a union that governs the contracts of actors and stage managers. And so when you work at the Ebony Repertory Theater at some point during your retirement, it will be recalled on your retirement statement that you worked for this professional entity. We founded the company in 2008, and we inaugurated ourselves with August Wilson's Two Trains Running. And then we gave the great Felicia Rashad her Los Angeles directorial debut. She directed A Raisin in the Sun for us after she had won the Tony Award for Best Actress for playing Mama Lena Younger in A Raisin in the Sun some years before. We present music, we present dance, and we present lecture as well. So we are a performing arts center. We are housed at the Nate Holden Performing Arts Center in Los Angeles. We are the resident company and operator of that beautiful 400-seat facility.
You bring back memories, and I know you're gonna you know who I'm talking about. When here in the District of Columbia for so long, we had the DC Black Repertory Theater, and Robert Hooks brought that and some others to Washington D.C. We missed the rep, even though some of the I'll say the folks that work with him are still doing theater, Lynn Dyson and some others. But we certainly did miss his presence. And so I'm not sure if he's out there in LA where you are. I don't know if there's any involvement or connection between him and the theater. But we hope that you said 2008 that you are locked in because there are not a lot of you out there.
No, not at all. And I will tell you that you honor me to no end this morning by raising the name of Robert Hooks. Robert Hooks resides in my heart. I love him. He at once is a colleague, but he's a mentor, and he's one of the great standard bearers of this country in the arts, but certainly within the Black arts community. We know about DC Black Rep and the Negro Ensemble Company in New York, but I love Robert Hooks, and one of my dearest friends in life. She's a was a member there of the DC Black Rep, and she's still living and working in the school system there in Washington, DC, Alicia Sneed. And so there are others. I was married in Washington, DC, and so I love that town in a very, very special way. It's very special to me, and I'm so thankful that you would raise the name of Robert Dean Hooks today.
Oh, thank you, thank you, thank you. So getting back to the book, Family Business, how can people get it?
Everyone can pick up the book at thefamilybusinessbook.com. Thefamilybusinessbook.com is where the book is purchasable at this time. Headed to New York City on March 17th, making a book signing and a wonderful conversation we hope to have with the Tony Award winning brilliant actor and singer Leslie Odom Jr. moderating conversation with me at the Harlem stage on March 17th. And we're working assiduously to get to DC to make several presentations, hopefully.
Well, we just had Ryan on from the Martin Luther King Library, so that sounds like the place you all need to be. And so anything we can do to help to make that happen, we certainly will. When people read this book, what do you anticipate? What will they take away from it?
I'm hopeful that they take away some degree of inspiration to delve into their own history, to know that archiving one's history is vitally important. I firmly believe that each people should tell its own story. And knowing your own history and knowing your history in detail, it moors you in a way, it grounds you, it allows you to walk through the world with a different kind of balance. And so that's the macro inspiration I hope people extract when they open up the book and go through the pages and begin to read and look at the images and the ephemera and memorabilia contained on the pages of the family business.
Yeah, you started with your was it great grandfather or grandfather? I'm sorry,
Great grandfather, yes.
great grandfather. Were you able to go back further? Was there any connections that you saw? And I know the years we're talking about the early 1900s, but uh, did you? Why did you start at that point? Let's put it that way with your great grandfather.
Well, I consider him the original producer, the original progenitor. He is the one of the furthest away generation who was in the arts. This is a man who, again, in 1872, same year that Paul Laurence Dunbar was born in Dayton, Ohio, he was a man born at a time. He was a choir master at his AME church. He could take a job on 20 different instruments. And so his father was a boot black and a cooper. His mother was an evangelist. And he wanted his children not to work as hard as his father had to work for so little result. And he knew that music was a universal language, and that's what he wanted to give them. And that's what I talked about, Papa Young's law. If you're going to live in my house, you're going to play music. And so, in addition to my beloved grandfather, Lee Young Sr., you've heard me speak of, my great uncle was the late, great Lester Young, who named
Mm.
Billie Holiday Lady Day and who was one of the stars of the Count Basie Orchestra. And under his own name, he led many, many small combos and is greatly celebrated within the pantheon of jazz musicians. And he's a profound inspiration to my life.
Well, it sounds like a lot of responsibility on your shoulders, Ren, because it can't end with you. So what, as we talk about legacy, where does this go from here?
Well, that's a wonderful question that Dr. King raised in 1967. He
Right.
said, where do we go from here, chaos or community? This legacy for me and going forward, it's a burden of privilege. It really has been, if it's a burden at all, it's been one of privilege. And my three children are ensconced in the arts as well. All three of them have a sensibility in such a way that I'm very, very proud of because they're feeling children. And the one thing I love about art at its best, it causes people to feel, it addresses people's humanity. And so my goal for them, as it is for my life, as it continues, is to always have in my art the best of my humanity. And so, yes, I think we have a fifth generation earnestly ensconced.
I'm so happy to hear that. I'm so happy. You're not going anywhere, but still, you're planting seeds. And that's what I think is important, not only with your children, but also the people that are involved with Ebony Repertory Theater. I mean, that's what's going to, I think, secure its longevity. So
Yes.
um, I'm very excited about the book. I'm hoping that you will make it to Washington, D.C., and we can make sure that we get folks out to hear a conversation with you. And anything else you want to share with us about what's next?
Well, more than that, I'm just honored to be here today. I have to tell you, Denise, to be with you today and to engage with your consciousness and your beautiful humanity is very significant to me. In the journey of promoting a book, that's one thing, and it's very specific. But to come away touching and engaging with someone anew, like you particularly, is a joy unspeakable for me. So thank you for your welcome.
Oh, my pleasure. And I look forward to getting to LA. I'm going to come at a time when you're doing a production so I can
Yeah.
sit in the audience and watch and see the great work that you all are producing. So I appreciate that and I appreciate your time.
Don't hesitate to reach out. Thank you so much for your time.
Will do. All right. Thank you.
Okay.
Have a wonderful day.
And you, be well now.
All right.